Do you have a dream car? Mine is the Lucid Air. Are you intrigued by electric vehicles? The Lucid Air EV has been called the best driving car in the world. And the Lucid Air Sapphire is certifiably the fastest production car in the world. Listen to Lucid Driver Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or at luciddriver.buzzsprout.com.
Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I am delighted to welcome back this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, Nikki and Tommie Jones. Nikki and Tommie are the owners of Jones Getaways by Dream Vacation Travel Agency. They are instrumental in my travel life in a couple of ways. They introduced me to Dream Vacations, and as many of you know, we are somewhat new owners of our own travel agency, The Joy of Vacation by Dream Vacation. I have watched them grow and have emulated them and consider them travel agent mentors. The other way they have been influential in our travel life relates to the first time I hosted them on the Joy of Cruising podcast, August of 2024, to talk about their soulful Epicurean French River cruise on Amacastrina, episode 123. As many of you know, we subsequently went on that same cruise, and coupled with our land excursion to Paris, we selected it as our number one all-time cruise on our recent podcast, Paul and Cheryl's All-Time Top 10 Cruises, episode 203. In 2025, Nikki and Tommie fulfilled what is number one on my bucket list, a trip to Africa, specifically Ghana. On their YouTube channel, Jones Getaways, they chronicled the trip in a 4-part series called Our Ghana Journey, from Accra to Ancestry. If you are a lifelong learner like me, I urge you to check it out. And if Africa is in your future, and I am booked, Ghana Journey from Accra to Ancestry is a must. In the meantime, we want to hear all about the trip. Welcome, Nikki and Tommie, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Again.
Glad to be here.
How you both doing?
Fantastic.
All right.
2026 is starting out with a bang. We've been very busy, so thank God for that.
And down here in Texas, San Antonio, we've been blessed with some not too cold weather, so Nikki's loving it.
Yep.
You know, we just moved, and about a few days after we moved from North Carolina to Virginia, and about a few days after we moved here, we were blessed with our first snowstorm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we saw a tiny bit of snow in our 4 years in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in one day, we saw about that amount altogether.
In one
Virginia,
day.
so.
Yeah.
See, no, we walking around here with tank tops and
It's real up there in Virginia.
yeah.
Oh, wow. I wish.
Yeah.
I wish. So before we discuss your bucket list adventure, tell our listeners about yourself in general. Where you're from, where you live, professional background, say something about your family, anything you would like to share.
Okay, sure. So, Nikki Jones, we currently live in San Antonio, Texas, but I am originally from Columbus, Georgia. Most people know Columbus associated with Fort Benning and
Ohio. And then you
Columbus.
have Columbus, Georgia.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay.
I forgot you're from Columbus. I'm sure when we chatted last time, I'm sure I told you that I was stationed in
Fort Benning
in Columbus at Fort Benning for 3 years.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's right. home of the infantry. But I'm born and raised there. Not from being military background, anything like that. Although my father did serve for a couple of years, but they were born and raised there too. So, little known fact, that people don't understand about Columbus. But yeah, born and raised there. And then I also joined the Army as well and served for 20 years. Retired from the Army in 2019, and we decided to settle here in San Antonio, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They have 2 children, son and daughter. Daughter's 32, son's 26. And
you've been in the travel business how long?
Had our travel agency. Yeah. After retirement, we decided to purchase our franchise of Dream Vacations, and we have been in the business since 2019 and loving every bit of it.
Great.
So me, Tommie Jones from the great state of Ohio.
Yeah.
We won the national championship last year. This year we didn't step up and do what we were supposed to do, but I digress. I'm originally from Middletown, Ohio. I joined the military at 19 and I retired at 49. So I did 30 years. Met my boo in the military in 1999, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been communicating back and forth and then found love. And then she already told you we live in San Antonio. I retired in 21, so we left Virginia, the Petersburg area, Fort Lee area, and we ended up moving from there in our final home here in San Antonio. So background, transportation, military all the way. She told you about our children, her father's living still in Columbus, and my mother and my sister are living in Middletown. And just to be honest about travel is that I was not a huge traveler growing up and even into my adult years until I met Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
And so even when Nikki and I were together, we didn't travel a lot, but she always wanted to, and you know how it is, trying to find time in the military is not always as graceful as you wanted.
Well, and then when you have those passes and have the leave that you can take, you always kind of go back to your home base.
Right.
Never really think about traveling to a different country or, experiencing anything like that. You really just travel back to your home.
Yeah. And then when she was talking about getting into the travel business, I was like, sure, because if that's what you want to do. But I honestly had no idea of how impactful that decision will be for me and for us. Because once we went to training in 19, it introduced me to, what real travel is. But then when I got on my first cruise, it completely erased all the bad ideas of cruising that I had in my head.
And that's when Cruise Tommie was.
And Cruise Tommie was born, baby.
now, when Cruise Tommie was born, was Cruise Nikki already alive?
Yes, she was, but only a little bit, little baby Nikki.
Can I be honest with you?
Little baby Nikki.
You had Cruise then?
I had Cruise previously, but only once.
Okay.
So that was on a Disney cruise. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I guess, prior to that. So it was embedded in me that I knew I wanted to be a traveler, a cruiser and a traveler, but I didn't know the extent of what it had become now.
Brother, can we talk man to man real quick? Now, Nikki is Nikki on the cruise. Nikki is Nikki on land. Nikki is Nikki everywhere. So she is consistently herself when she's out enjoying herself and all that stuff, because she has those established parameters within herself. Now, I've been in the Army more than I've been out of the Army. So when Cruise Tommie gets a little them spirits in him, all those parameters that I've had, they start to fade away, and I really start to enjoy myself. So that's why I really love vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was that ship that was your first cruise together?
It was a good old Celebrity, their second one. Apex. Yeah, Celebrity Apex.
Oh, nice ship.
So the Celebrity Apex was the first cruise ship that I'd ever been on. And
introduction.
the second cruise that Nikki's been on 20 years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, we stepped into the A game
Yep.
on what to expect on a cruise ship, a new ship, and such a beautiful,
That was our conference.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that was our very first conference ship. So that actually introduced, on a different level.
Absolutely. So it was good time.
So it was your travel agency conference.
Travel agency conference.
How long had you been in the business when you went on that?
We had been
weathered
almost
COVID.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had already been in the business almost 2 years because we started August 2019.
Okay.
And then, of course, 2020 hit, and then we didn't go to conference. And then 21 was when we decided to go to conference.
Yeah.
So
since then, you've gone on a whole lot of cruises. So before we get to Ghana, say a little bit about your recent cruising life. Give us some highlights of the cruising you did in 2025.
Oh man, 2025 I think was an extraordinary year for us because we did cruise a lot, and we took that time. We wanted to make sure we cruised a lot, we traveled to other land places as well. For me, from Sea Dream 2, I sailed on that. It's a small luxury yacht, and that was an amazing experience. We did the Caribbean cruise for that cruise itinerary on that ship.
I was not allowed to attend that one.
We'll be right back.
The Joy Vacation by Dream Vacations invites you to join us on a bucket list adventure to Africa. We're going to Kenya and Egypt for 14 days, April 10th through April 24th, 2027. A week in Kenya, including safaris, and a week in Egypt, including the pyramids and a 4-day Nile River cruise. This adventure includes air from the U.S., all transfers, all accommodations, private tours, and many meals. $5,000 to $5,500, depending on air, per person. Double occupancy. Only $250 per person deposit due at booking. The remainder is not due until late 2026. For a detailed itinerary, online brochure, and to book, email me at pthornton, THORNTON, pthornton @dreamvacations.com.
That was more like a girlfriend getaway type thing, but it turned into that. But it was all work. It was a family trip that we went on.
She was on a yacht. So if you believe it was all work, then
because that's what we do.
Yes, I'm
as
petty.
Travel professionals.
Yes, I'm petty. Yes, I'm
Nikki.
As travel.
So I suspect that the majority, I'm sure many do, but a lot of our listeners probably don't know what you mean when you say a fam trip. So say some more about that.
Okay, yeah. So the fam trip, the familiarization trip, is an opportunity that is provided to travel professionals to come out and experience the ship. We're typically invited by the supplier representatives. The business development managers will invite the travel advisors to come out to experience the ship. Get a chance to tour the ship. Some are, you have to pay a cost for it, and some of them are free. It just depends on the line, whatever cruise line that you're on, so you may have to incur some cost with that.
It's like the car, you say you got a car dealership and they want you to experience this new car that they have, and they invite people that they know, A, are interested in cars, B, can direct traffic to get them into the cars, and then C, will talk about it on their social media and use that as an option when you're talking business with them. So
yeah. So it's not just an opportunity. It's a great opportunity for you to come out and test the product.
Yeah.
Right.
And
then also you have the obligation as well to promote the product. Also. So it's not just that you're, come out, get a free trip. You have to also kind of be invested as well.
Give and
You know,
take.
so
Yeah.
you know, you're helping the product, and then also they're giving something to you as well. So
All right.
yeah,
But it basically gives you an
Yeah.
opportunity to experience different places that you normally wouldn't travel, and now you can add that to your recommendations when you're talking to your
Right.
customers.
exactly.
What else did you do in 25?
Well, you know, I went on my first Disney cruise with my baby, so I got to skip with Goofy. I got to
Which
hang out with
ship?
Mickey. You know what I'm saying?
Disney Magic.
It was the Disney Magic
out of
out
Galveston.
of Galveston. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my first time ever doing anything. As you know, I was raised, like most of us here, raised on Disney. So, and being from Ohio originally, going to Disneyland, Disney World was not an option in our family. We just traveled to see our family. And so I'd never even considered going on one of those cruises, but we got an opportunity to visit and experience a ship. And that was an amazing time because Disney, you know, owns Marvel. And so those are two products right there that I grew up with, comic books and TV. And now with the movie world taking over and they own ESPN, it was just a unique opportunity to see exactly what Disney can do for adults and for kids. So that was great.
Yeah. We also had our national conference on Princess.
Yeah.
So where we also saw you there, met your family and everyone on the Princess Star.
Yep.
So that was amazing to see because we had never sailed on Princess before. And to have a chance to see and know that it was, you know, the Love Boat from what we also grew up watching that, and to actually experience it. And this is a brand new ship, you know, and it gave me a whole new perspective of what Princess Cruise Line was.
Yeah. And it is something that it really opened my eyes to is the fact that nowadays in travel, you can no longer stick with what you thought about cruise lines, about resorts and all that stuff, because the game is changing. Like the Star Princess, that's their newest ship. And every bad idea I had of Princess was erased walking on that ship.
Not that you had bad ideas.
Well, I had an idea of it being for a much older crowd. I had an idea of it being low energy. And I had an idea of it, the ships being older ships. And then going on there and seeing the Star Princess, you see brand new ship, you see innovation on the ship, and you also have a high level of energy on that ship. It was very impressive. And it just reminded me of the fact that you can't judge a book by its cover, but you got to read the new book.
Yep. Yeah, like you, it was our first time on Princess. And I did have, you know, like Tommie, I did have some preconceived notions about Princess. However, and the same preconceived notions that Tommie had. However, I had researched it somewhat because we were booked on Sun Princess for much of 25, and then we canceled because Sun Princess, there was an area of Sun Princess that they kept pushing back the completion date. I think it was called Area 19.
Okay.
And they kept pushing back the completion date, and then it got scrapped altogether. And by the time it got scrapped altogether, they were taking reservations for Star. And so I said, I'm going to cancel this cruise and just go on Star, because I heard it was identical to Sun, and I really had researched Sun and was looking forward to it.
Right.
So and then when the franchise decided to do the conference on Star, that made my decision that much easier. You know, I don't know if you had a chance to hear my podcast about it, but we absolutely raved about Star Princess. So it might have been my first time, but it certainly won't be my last.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, when I go back on, I am probably going to go on Sun Princess. Some Princess fans kind of dogged Sun Princess because apparently it's very different than the rest of their product.
Really?
And so, yeah, some were not too happy. But I liked Star, and see, I had nothing to compare it against, so it was fine for me. And so I don't like to repeat cruise ships, so I'm gonna now go on Sun, which is what I was gonna do initially.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
Star was absolutely great.
it was a beautiful ship.
But
Beautiful ship.
that's the travel challenge nowadays, right? Because if you have a product like a cruise ship, you have to deal with the people who've been loyal to you for decades, but then you also have to introduce your product to a newer clientele. So those are the fights that a lot of cruise lines are going through, from the luxury brands all the way down. Like, for instance, Regency, Regent, I'm sorry, Regent, um, is, their product is ultra luxury, but their clientele is a little older. And so we had an opportunity in 2025 to sail on Regent, and just hearing what their efforts are. They're trying to uh, keep the same product, meaning you get on this ship to be spoiled, right? And then they're trying to see how they can bring that age average down a little bit, so that they can introduce it to a new market. So it's a challenge that a lot of travel partners are running into.
Yeah.
Yeah, region is definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah.
In fact, coming into 25, a bucket list item I was looking to check off was to go on my first luxury cruise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a different world, brother.
I found, I found a great deal on Explorer Journeys. So
That's on my list.
yeah, Regent. I had definitely researched Regent and Seaborn and some others, but the one that I got to check that off my bucket list was Explorer. But that doesn't mean that that's the last. In fact, I wish I could do nothing but luxury cruise ships.
Absolutely.
I'm with you, Paul.
It's a different world.
That region itinerary we did was from Quebec to New York City,
Montreal, yeah.
and it was amazing. We had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
That was the longest cruise we actually ever been on. It was 11-day sailing,
And it was our first time in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It was our first time there, and it was great.
yeah.
We did.
I've actually cruised there once.
Okay.
It was nothing like what you did on Regent, though. Yeah, it was on one of the older Carnival. Wait, it was a long time ago.
Okay.
But we cruised to where was it that the Titanic crashed? We cruised to near where because we went to, like, there were a lot of Titanic memorials and artifacts.
Yeah, one of our tours told us that Canada was called upon to help recover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly. Yeah, but Canada blew my mind, man.
Oh, Canada was nice. Canada was nice. I got to go to Canada quite a bit because I did my graduate school up in Rochester, New York, which is almost at the border.
Right.
So we went to Canada a couple of times just for a fun weekend, and then my son-in-law played for the Canadian Football League for most of his career.
Okay.
And so we went to several games up there.
Okay.
So we went to Montreal, we went to Toronto, places like that.
You say A lot when you talk A.
I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
I had to think about that, eh?
You about to say A?
So do you have anything booked yet for 26?
Yeah, we actually do. We have a Christmas markets.
Oh, wow.
Riverside Luxury Cruise Line. We're doing the Christmas market starting in Basel, Switzerland, up to Dusseldorf,
Yes.
Germany.
Yeah.
In December of this year. So that's with Riverside.
Yeah, another bucket list item is a Christmas markets cruise.
Same, yeah.
I did have Riverside on the show not that long ago. So
yeah, I saw that was on
yep.
there. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I did see the Jen was there.
Yep. Anything else for 26?
Well, we are, so since we travel so much, we sort of toning down travel for 26. We're going to take, of course, advantage of some unique opportunities, but we want to actually focus on tying into our community here in San Antonio.
Yeah, more partnerships and community, kind of staying put. Because what we found in 25 was that so much was going on in our local areas that we're not able to participate because we were traveling so much. So, we're just kind of taking a step back, and, getting out into the community so that people can understand who we are and know us, because people tend to, want to do business and partner with people that they know, know and trust, so, so we're just kind of sticking around a little bit, here for 26.
Trying to get into the bloodline of San Antonio so that when people think travel and specifically that luxury market, then they consider us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Ghana.
Yeah.
So was this your first trip to the motherland?
Well, it wasn't my first trip. My first trip actually was in 2024, and I went to South Africa. Did South Africa and Cape Town, Botswana, a safari in Botswana, and which was amazing with Great Safaris was the tour company that I used that we partnered with, and Zimbabwe. Those were the different countries we went to in South Africa. So,
wow, that sounds like an amazing trip.
It was wonderful.
Yeah,
it absolutely wonderful. The luxury lodges that we stayed in Botswana, top notch. Highly recommend. It was amazing. The animals scared me though, just only because I was, just fearful myself looking at a lion.
I'll share some pictures with you.
5 feet away from me, but
you can, in her heart, she's enjoying it, but her face is scared to
terrified. Terrified,
well, don't get me too nervous because we got
safaris,
we got a couple of safaris on our trip.
But that was just me, everyone else that was on the trip with me, they absolutely, and it wasn't that I didn't love it. I enjoyed it, but I also understood I was in the habitat of the animals. It's like, well, they're wild animals, but it was an amazing and beautiful trip to see the animals though. It really was.
Yeah. And she said, she sees them on TV. She's been to the zoo. So you see those and you're comfortable in that environment, but then you get out there and you realize ain't no bars, ain't no pits. It's just life. They live in their life.
I'm just being real about it. It was wonderful. It was amazing to see. So that was my first time in going to the motherland. Yeah. So when I came back, for Christmas last year, my present to Tommy was to go to Ghana. Yeah, because I knew. Wow. Yes, I knew I wanted to go for sure, but I knew he really deeply wanted to go.
And my gift back to her was I got her some slippers, and I got her some new dishes.
He's playing.
So I fell way short. I
was getting ready to ask what motivated you to go to Ghana, but for Tommy, it was a Christmas present.
Yeah, it was his Christmas present. Yeah.
And see, I'd been over, so 95% of my travel has been because of the military. And I was stationed at Fort Campbell in 15, and we got called up to go support the Ebola mission over in Liberia. So I was a headquarters company first sergeant. And we ended up deploying right around 200 soldiers over there to help fight and help Liberia overcome the Ebola outbreak. So that was my first time there. And I never wanted to go to Africa in uniform or with my weapon because I wanted to see it, with just me and us, through a different lens, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and so the good news is our commanding general at that time, we brought our weapons, but we put them all in the containers, so we didn't arrive on the ground with our weapons. So that really touched my heart a lot because I didn't want to be seen as the enemy, It
was a threat.
Yeah, and so being over there, the one takeaway I have is that Liberia was struggling with Ebola because it was, a lot of traditions. Sometimes you have to change your culture to fight these viruses and some of these things. And so it was more of trying to introduce ways that we could help them. But as much as they were going to and going through, and as many lives that were lost, every person I had an opportunity to meet, they just had joy in their heart. They were welcoming. They called me brother.
Mm-hmm.
And the vast majority of people I met were excited as I was to meet each other. So that was great. So and once again, like Nikki said, we always wanted to go back. And when I opened that Christmas gift, one of the few times I felt a little emotional, and I was like, it was just blown away. So that was amazing. So from there on out, it was like, let's go.
So the mic is yours. Tell us all about it.
Well, first off, it's a long flight. When you leave the United States and you land on the continent of Africa, you start to notice that as a Black person, you're no longer the minority, because you see managers in the airport, you see attendants in the airport, the flight attendants in the airport, you see the president of the airport. Everybody that you see have the same color tone that you do.
And they say, welcome home.
They welcome home. That's how they greet you. Everybody greets you. So that was that reception was exactly what I felt in Liberia. So that calmed my soul into making me realize that, yeah, we do have a connection here.
And because we didn't know anything about, how to plan for the trip at all, we did go through a touring operator company, and they had everything laid out for us. This was actually a fam trip that we went on. So everyone that we went with were also travel advisors.
Oh, okay.
And so we got a chance to see a lot of the highlights of what Ghana had to offer, and what we could come back and offer our clients as well.
Accra specifically. Yeah.
Yes. So everything was laid out. So we stayed at several, hotels while we were there, got a chance to experience that. We traveled the roads like, everyone else would. We got a chance to see other areas of Ghana, stay in other areas of Ghana as well. That I don't know if you would actually get that opportunity if you were just planning it yourself without going through a tour company, So, which I was glad about that. It gave me different perspectives of different areas of where I would want to go back to, to stay.
Now, educate me. How large is Ghana?
Oh, Lord. We didn't know you was going to ask real questions. Well, it's the largest city in Ghana, Accra. And I don't know the actual numbers, and I don't want to get up here and lie to you.
Yeah, but we traveled by bus in one area, and it was a long bus.
It's not fair because the roads were jacked up.
Some of the construction is, the infrastructure is not where it needs to be. So with that, it takes a long time to go from one area to the next, so it was at least 6 to 7 hours, I guess, on the.
It's just like anywhere, man. Depends on where you need to go. There's definitely people out traveling, and you also have those motorbikes you got to look out for. I'll just say this: there was two labels that we can give you for our experience in Ghana, right? The first one was personal and emotional. The second one was as a tourist and being able to see the sights. Hitting the ground, we got there and we were able to just basically see that everything that we thought about the continent of Africa, it was all just, there's a lot missing. I'll just say that way, okay? And what I'm talking about the infrastructure of the city and the country. I'm talking about the work habits and the established lifestyles that are over there, as well as you get to see the United States influence over there as well. You know what I'm saying? It's a growing country that's learning more and more about itself. And then when you realize that they were colonized and they were occupied until the 70s. It just makes you realize that they're they're still growing versus the United States over 300 years old.
Colonized till the 70s. I did not realize that.
Oh yeah, they're matter of fact,
Their independence.
they're gaining most of the countries in on the continent of Africa have different independent dates that you'd be surprised at how recent some of them are.
Yeah, yeah. So was Accra a city, a big city? I mean, was it like very metropolitan, like
Absolutely.
cities you're used to in the U.S.?
Yeah, and it's just like the cities in the U.S., but you just got to remember that downtown is a different picture than the outskirts. You know what I'm saying? So you got the tall buildings, you got all the businesses, you got all the food, you got all the nightlife, you got all that stuff going on.
5-star hotels there.
There you go.
So it's not a lot of people, when they hear Africa, the depiction is always something that's rough and bad and, deprived and all of that. But you go over there and it's like, wait, there is that, is understood that there is that there. However, like I said, you have these 5-star hotels there. You have, the money is there as well. The restaurants, you have the style of dress there. The culture there is rich. But
you just have to understand that it's not America,
right? Yeah.
So they're still living and raising their kids and their society and their way of doing things is still with the continent of Africa, Ghana, Accra mindset. It's not San Antonio, Texas. It's not whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to remember that just like when you travel, and for anybody who hasn't traveled before, you have to remember when you leave the United States, you're not in the United States anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to understand how they got to where they are and what their culture is and so forth. So, hey, I was able to, through Nikki, the population of Ghana is 34.43 million.
Wow.
Yeah. The shape or size is compared to the state of Oregon, and it's in West Africa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it was, and remember I told you about the emotional side and then the tourist side. The first day was just being amazed, being there, seeing that, like Nikki said, a 5-star hotel over there is like a 5-star hotel anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the money, you can get American treatment in other countries, but it just, do you have the money for it? But
how would you characterize your accommodations? I know that you weren't staying in 5-star hotels.
The hotel we stayed in was the Movenpick Hotel, which was a 4-star hotel. It was great. Yeah. Is the rooms, there was a variety of rooms that they had available for us. That particular hotel is one that they have a lot of dignitaries stay at. They also, everything that you need and want, the restaurant there was large, and the variety of foods was amazing. It tasted great. Anything that you would want, the accommodations provided that for you. So it was no issue at all with that.
And then if you want a traditional style 5-star hotel, they had that there. It was called the
Kempinski Hotel. We did a tour of that hotel, and that was amazing.
They could have picked that up and put that in any state in the or any city in the United States, and you'd be okay with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's I want to be real. So once we got out of the airport, we felt that welcome vibe, and we also were able to feel the hustle that goes on there, right? Because when
you say the hustle, do you mean like hustle and bustle?
No.
People
or
jobs, people.
The hustle that you need to watch out for.
Be aware. I wouldn't say watch out, because it's not like they're trying to steal your money.
Yeah.
But everybody you meet is hustling. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody over there comes from money.
So pretty much like any other island we go
place
to.
that you go to,
Yeah,
absolutely. You can
absolutely.
compare it to a Mexico, to a Jamaica, to a anywhere else that you go.
Or
People
New
out
York.
trying to,
Yeah.
people out trying to make their money.
Yeah.
So, it's not that you're not going to see that when you arrive, because you are.
Perfect example is as soon as you get into the airport off the plane, there's people going to come at you, right? And they're going to come at you as a brother or sister. They're going to come at you as what can they do to basically earn money from you, whether it be grab your suitcases and take them where you need them to go. Some guy tried to get me to invest in an
apartment
apartment
condos.
complex that they're building over there, and I thought it was a joke, right? But then a partner of mine, he looked it up, and it was a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And then when you start to understand where you are, it's that where is money coming into this country? The airport. You know what I'm saying? And the people that are flying on these planes and they're not from Ghana probably have money to get over there because
Sure.
it ain't cheap, right? And so it's a business plan. It's the hustle business plan of anything that can happen over there. But and like I said, it's nowhere just like walking in New York and Joker's trying to sell you watches. It's the same type of hustle.
But once we get to the accommodations, and then the next day was a day of us going to the I don't know if it was the next day or not, but we were introduced to the castles. Elmina Castle.
Well, first, the first thing we did was we had dinner with everybody that we were with that first night, and we got to explore the moving pick. But then we ended up going to the house of
WB
W.E.B. Du Bois, and you start to learn. And this is another thing about travel, specifically when it comes to some Black people, and we're talking about in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were Black people that left the United States because they were received better in foreign countries. And so W.E.B. Du Bois, he was not considered well or a friend of the United States because of some of the connections that he had throughout his life. So he was sort of ostracized from the United States. And what Ghana did, is because Accra is the capital, he was in his 90s, but they brought him over to Ghana so that he could help them initiate their because once again, they had just broken through colonization and established themselves as a country. So they had to start the history of their country. They invited him over. They built this little compound for him, a little area for him. And he came over there, and for 2 years, his focus was helping them by establishing their history for the records, for the books.
Mm-hmm.
And so
we got a chance to go walk through the library there. Tombstone.
Yeah, in his home.
Got a chance to see that. Him,
and then we just continued to see what's going on in Ghana, just seeing the highlights there. We also went to the first president's museum. What would you say it? We should call it a museum. Mm-hmm. And so we got to see not just his museum, but we got to see the history that went on there, because not only was he the first president, but he also ended up, there was a coup that got him, that forced him to run from Ghana. You know what I'm saying? So hearing their history and hearing the battles that they've had, which every young country has, to include the United States, and trying to establish themselves locally as well as in the world, it was impressive. Then
there's so much.
Well, I'm just saying that was the introduction to the way they set it up was very smooth, because they brought you to the country, then they introduced you to the history of the country, of its establishing itself. Then you go and you make that connection between Black people, African descendants all around the world, the question that we all have in the back of our head, what really happened and how did we end up outside of Africa?
Yeah. So that's how we transition over to the Elmina castles, which are dungeons, and this was probably the most heartbreaking part of the whole experience that we went through. It was 2 days of us going to the separate castles, and to go there and to see the actual areas that
that your ancestors
were captured.
If it wasn't in this exact spot, it was somewhere else on the continent of Africa that your ancestors were captured or traded for, brutalized from the moment they were in the hands of those colonizers, whether it be the Dutch, whether it be the Portuguese, or whether it be the British or the French, right? Once you got in their hands, you were no longer a person.
And these dungeons were where the slaves were kept prior to
Absolutely.
For 3 months.
Absolutely.
They were kept there because that's how long it took for the ship to get from Africa to the U.S.
That was the turnaround. Yeah.
Yes.
So up to 2 months, up to
3 months.
Or 3 months, but up to 200 men. And I don't remember the exact number.
And they had the separate quarters for the men and the women, but the area is not like it's huge warehouse type thing. The area where they had 200 to 300 people was small, big where they did everything. They slept, ate, used the bathroom, blood, through everything was done there in that small space. And there's a little window up top where, you get airflow in there, but you have sickness going on while they're there, and I swear it just felt like I could hear the wailing people there, and it was just so gut wrenching to be there. And what gave me solace, though, after seeing these 2 castles and going through that, was that we're only here because our ancestors survived that, because they survived going through that, and their whole lineage, resulted in us being here.
I was just thinking about it
today.
If the woman and man that initially made it alive to the United States had not survived, then either one of them had not survived, and we wouldn't be here.
Right.
That's amazing to think about. And then the hardship of slavery for 400 years, to have a lineage survive that, because, slaves were being killed, slaves were rebelling, whatever, and then still survive that, then make it to a point to where my first memory is my grandfather on both my mother and my father's side, being able to make it to Ohio in my case, and Alabama for my dad, to make it, and then somehow me be here with a better opportunity than any generation before me could have thought could have happened.
Yeah. I think that was just
pretty amazing.
The most amazing part of that whole experience going there was just learning about that part of history, because we're not taught that here in the U.S. When we're going to school growing up, we hear about from when the slaves arrived. We don't know anything about the actual journey prior to. So going to Ghana and hearing the stories, because that's the Africans that are there, they grow up learning about that part. What they don't know is after the ships once they left Africa, they don't know about the side of they only see it from movies, and a lot of times it's not even depicted correctly, but because it's Hollywood, so that's all they know. They haven't had a chance to come over to experience this side of it. So for us to go there and see that and hear, the stories
and share with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a movie once. It's at least 20 years, but it was called Sankofa, and it had a bunch of tourists. I'm sure you were in your tourism mode when you were at these places, for the most part. And so it showed a bunch of tourists. And there was one woman, I can't remember, I don't know if she was in travel, why she was there. She tripped and fell and hit her head. And then the rest of the movie, and now again, she was there as a tourist in modern times. So I don't know if this movie was out, say, in 2020. She was a tourist in 2020
Right.
at one of these places, one of these embarkation places for the slave ships.
Mm.
And the way, the theme of the movie, or the premise of the movie, she tripped and fell and she hit her head. And when she woke up,
He was in that.
she was in slave garb.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so she was now there waiting to get on the ship to the United States. Followed her, the journey, and then at plantations in the United States. And ever since I saw that movie, I knew it was a matter of when, not if I was going to Africa, but when I went to Africa, and I didn't know at that time, which country I would go to, but pretty much, I think Tommy said it earlier, just about every major country had a place similar to what you all went to see.
Absolutely.
What was it called? The something castle?
Elmina.
Yeah.
Elmina Castle.
They all have different names, but just remember. So the story that we learned, because it was hard for me, because what you learn is that they were the locals on the continent of Africa were used so that the Europeans at the time could get free work, not just free workers, but not just free workers, but they were trying to get the strongest workers so that they could survive the trip and also survive the seasons where they would work. And once you get over there and you start to realize that not only was this a European idea, but it was blessed off by the Catholic Church, because once again, people on the continent of Africa were not seen as human. And in the beginning, they weren't seen as acceptable humans because they didn't believe in the Catholic Church or Christianity, right? So those two things against them, being of darker skin, being from the continent of Africa, and the other thing of not being in the religious circle at the time, you are automatically less than everybody else. And the way that the colonizers got their foot in the door was bartering, trading, right? And so they would bring weapons, ammunition, black powder, so forth and so on, and they would trade. And the only things the Africans had, because they had their own society there, they had their own currency, they had their own way of doing things, their own tribes and all that stuff. They didn't speak literally the same language or live the same way as the Europeans. And so the Europeans had the ability to say what they felt was worthy of trading for. And of course, we know it was gold, we know it was diamonds, we know it was materials, and there's so much other stuff like vegetables and so forth that you take into consideration. But the main reason for the colonizers coming there was to benefit the slave trade. Absolutely. And so the first way that you could get that trade system happening is because chiefs and villages would battle each other. You know what I'm saying? Just like anywhere else in the world. And when chiefs would fight and villages would fight, there's going to be a winner and a loser. And so the loser is now brought into the tribe that won the war. And you're called what's called an indentured servant, meaning you have to take on what that new tribe that just conquered your tribe, you have to take on their ways and their way of life. And hopefully you can work your way either into their society or you can work your way to freedom. That's what an indentured servant is. So if you're coming and you want bodies, right? Who am I as a chief going to give up? The ones that are conquered or the ones that you are the leader of. So in the beginning, it was give us rifles, we'll give you our basically prisoners of war. But no one knew. Well, I ain't gonna say no one because people know way more than they let on at times. But the majority didn't have an idea of what would happen to those people. They didn't have the details of what would happen to these people that you just traded away, and nobody could understand that they were going to be treated the way they were treated for the rest of their life, you know. And so we ended up going to what was called the last bath, and wherever they would capture you or trade for you, they would march you because they didn't spend the extra money on extra things, right? So wherever you were obtained from, they had to move you from A to the port, right? So that you could get on the ship. And so they would handcuff you the moment they have you and put you shackles, yes, put you in shackles, and then you would walk to where you would get on the ship. It could be 5 miles, it could be 150 miles. Mm-hmm. And then once they get you close, they would group you up and put you in the river for your last bath on the continent of Africa. So we went and visited one of those locations, and I swear to you, I could see ancestors in the water, shackled, trying to wash themselves after that long walk and never knowing what the next day is going to bring. Mm-hmm. And then we were able to go into the water, and just it was almost like a movie, because once your foot touches that water, it just seems like images just start populating in your head. So it puts you in that mindset. It's
heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
It's heavy listening to.
And then you have those guides that are telling you how the process was, and then you start to realize that the bigger you are, the louder you are, the more rebellious you are, your journey ended very quickly because they killed you. You know what I'm saying? So if you're the biggest and the toughest person, you're probably going to die. You know, if you're the loudest and the one that's standing on values, you're probably going to die. And so it's just,
so that was the thing. After they go through their bath, and then they are marched again to the castle. And at that point, that's where the dungeon, mm-hmm. you know, that's where they stay for the 3 months as they're waiting for the ship to come back. And then that's where you go through the door of no return there. And you see how narrow and small this door is, to give you an perspective of how small they were, you know, even to fit through this door, you know. And
it's like, there's no way I could fit through that door.
Oh, yeah.
Even if I turned sideways. So the guy told me, he was like, the odds are you would die. You know what I'm saying? Because if anything you did interfered with their operation, you would die or get beaten or die. And so once we got through that part, which was tough enough, then the next day we go to the castles, and walking in those castles, and you just, the best way I can paint the image is these castles they're beautiful. They're huge.
Cannons all around.
Stone. It's like just think of it as an old school military base. Mm-hmm. And so you have your commander, right? You have, which they called the governor. They had their staff, mm-hmm. and then, their administrative staff, and then you have your prison staff, then you have your military staff. So you have all these different entities.
The church there.
Yeah, mm-hmm. their own church and everything. So once you walked in those walls as a person, it wasn't that bad, right? Because they had churches, they had dining facilities, they had recreational things, and it was protected with all those guns mounted out. Mm-hmm. Okay. But if you're there, if you didn't volunteer to be there,
coming in as a slave,
you don't get any of those riches. Mm-hmm. You're going straight. Once you get in that castle, it's dark most of the time, because you have that little window for ventilation, but you don't, You don't leave to go to the bathroom. You don't leave to go sleep. You're
Mhm.
in that dungeon. You know what I'm saying? And they separate you. If you're in the small dungeon, you're going to die. If you're in the big dungeon where the 200 people were, 200 men were, then you have to somehow survive. Like Nikki said, the sickness, seeing people urinate and use the bathroom on the floor, seeing people scared to death. We literally saw claw marks where there were people who were trying to fight to get out of there because they knew that where they were going wasn't no good.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you sit there and you imagine how they lived, and then they only moved them when the ship came back.
Right.
And then even moving you to the ship, you didn't have access to see what that castle actually looked like.
Right.
There was basically a tunnel that you had to walk down that kept you hidden from everybody else. And the only thing you saw was the ship.
Yeah.
And you
And
get
then
on that ship.
With the women's area,
Yeah.
if the colonizers saw a woman that they wanted to rape or do whatever to, there was a area that they would bring the women out, and then the colonizers were up top, because just like you said, it was like a military compound type thing. So you have the upper area where they would stand and look down to see who they wanted. They'll pick that woman out, go do whatever they needed to do with her. And if she were to get pregnant, they would build a house. Out.
When we say house, we're not talking about
a little they'll build an area for her, her and the baby outside of the compound, and she would have that baby, and that baby would be raised in order to be a translator between the colonizers and the slaves.
Yeah. Well, there was a multifaceted, right? So so
that's how you end up having the mixed, colored people.
Once one of the guards or staff or whatever would have sex with a slave woman, the slave woman would become pregnant, then the mother would stay with that child for 10 years.
I think it
was 10 years, right? And if the mother was still healthy, she'd get on a ship. If she wasn't healthy, then they'd let her die somewhere. But the child would now go back to the person that had the baby, right? Or that helped make the baby. If they're still there. And then they would either bring them in, like Nikki said, to be interpreters. But the point was to have them become a part of that culture so that they could now have access to that culture. So they could have a better understanding of what the rumors are going on. You know what I'm saying? So they ended up not just being that, but now they're spies. If the father has his way and can raise that kid to do that, then it's just it's diabolical, the process.
Completely. Yeah. So those couple of days were heavy.
Very.
Very heavy.
Yeah.
But it was liberating too, I think.
Absolutely.
Because
it answers so many questions.
Yes. After going through all that and seeing that, that's why
it sounds.
I just feel like you have a
very solemn.
You just have to come.
Very depressing.
You come back with a much better sense of self.
Who you are. Absolutely.
Sense of once you come back here to your real world, quote unquote, it's like you have to have a much better appreciation of where you are. For me, it was more like, how dare I complain about these menial things of our life, of what's going on. And especially if I have control over some things to change about whatever's going on, how dare I complain? And after seeing that.
Or stop, you know what I'm saying? How dare I not lean forward and move forward and try to live
progress,
and be better when we know for a fact that our ancestors couldn't just stop, because if they would have stopped, we wouldn't
wouldn't be here.
So yes, it's heavy, but at the same time, for me, it was heavy. It made me angry, but my anger was calmed because it started. I was able to have a conversation with people that were there so that I could gain understanding. Because in the beginning, when I first got in that slave castle, I had a huge chip on my shoulder because I went in after hearing some of the conversations from some of the guides and then doing some reading on my own. You start to fall for some of the stuff that's been put out there that Africans were just giving other Africans away just to be giving Africans away. It didn't work like that. It was a diabolical plan that was followed to a T because they had, can't think of the word, but they had perfected it. Goodness gracious. You know what I'm saying? So the way that they were obtaining Africans to be slaves, just think about it. It don't take 5 years to be proficient in something. They were doing this for 300-400 years. You know what I'm saying? So the game plan was down and there. So one
That's why
aspect
people fight so hard for it to not go away.
100%. But it's the liberation is the understanding, like Nikki said, Africans that we ran into over there did not know the story of what happened after the ship left the coast. And we, like Nikki said, did not know what happened before the ship. And we were able to have real conversations with people on ground there and enlighten each other. You know what I'm saying? And learn so much more. And the reason that Nikki said about the movies is where they get a lot of their information about post leaving the continent is because our main guide told us that. He was like,
you know, never been to the U.S.
Yeah. And he had no idea about the true details. And he said the most shocking and revealing movie that he saw was
Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I know, but the thing about it is, if you're not really sure of what that movie is, you can miss what he was saying because there's a lot of comedy in that movie. There's a lot of silliness in that movie, but there's a lot of reality in that movie as well. And if you're able to see through the fog to see the message, you know, then we were able to understand what he meant by that. And that helped let us have great conversation.
Yeah.
Django Unchained, one of my favorite movies. Curiosity question. You went on this as a fam trip. So that means there were other travel professionals there. Was the trip a diverse group or?
There were 14 of us and it was one woman that was a white woman.
She was a white woman.
A Caucasian woman. You can tell she was very open-minded. She was very respectful.
Yeah.
She knew where she was, knew what she was doing. Because we also had like ceremonies there as well. You know, we got a chance to participate in some of the ceremonies, got a naming ceremony, and that was fantastic for us to experience.
Yeah, I saw that on the YouTube series, and you might have heard at the introduction of this. I implored listeners to check it out. So I said, if you're a lifelong learner like I am, you should check it out. And if you're going to Africa anytime soon, like I am, it's an your series is a must.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
So hopefully we'll get you a viewer or two or three.
But that's the point of that's the full circle, to use your word from earlier. That's your full circle of that trip. You know what I'm saying? You go through there, you get introduced to it. You go there, you get introduced to its culture, right? You see how it was birthed. You see how they're living. Then the next days we started how the slave trade went. And then it ended with welcome home. This is what we give you. We give you your African name that you would have had if you were here, and we are hugging you and pulling you to us and treating you like family because you are family. It's up to you to realize you're family. And so it's a roller coaster ride, but when you leave, you feel so full.
Yeah.
That it was.
Yeah. So with the diversity though, with Diane, yes, she stepped back. She realized what was she understood what was going on as far as some of the ceremonies, and she took herself out of some of the ceremonies that we had because
She never made it about her.
never.
She's a friend for life because of that. She never made it about her. When we were at the river, she asked questions and all that, but she stepped back when she realized how emotional it was for people. When we did the naming ceremony, she participated in that. But when the reception of welcome home, she stepped back, she didn't disengage ever. And then we had a prayer moment for the people who passed through there that never made it to the new land and never made it back home. And she stepped back, never made it about her. And that was impressive to me, that somebody would make it about them. Because, even Americans over in Africa, we have taken on that role of, we got that Sadidi feel about ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Because we had that conversation too. He was like, a lot of Black Americans come over to Africa, and, the small things that the African people, my mattress is too bumpy.
They want the American way.
Yeah. Why can't I have the hamburger now?
Or I see 2 bugs on the floor, and I'm disgusted.
This is an outrage, And so they see that and they're like, do you feel like you're better than us? And then on the flip side, we look at it like, y'all not going to treat us like we're your equals or your people. So it's a whole bunch of misunderstandings that, just like in life, if you take a moment to listen and then give your point of view, which is called communication, you can make it through anything, man.
Thank you so much for doing the best you could of making your trip real for the listeners. I could talk to you for hours about Africa, but my listeners won't put up with that.
I hear you.
But I do know. In fact, I'm going to send to everyone who has. We're doing a group trip to Africa, not to Ghana, but to Kenya and Egypt, and I'm going to share your YouTube series with everyone who has signed up. And I'm saying, this is not the same. But for those of you who are like me, and I think that's the most. I know everyone who's going. None of them have been to Africa. They'll delight in it. So I will certainly share that with my group. How can the listeners follow you on social media and the internet? First of all, YouTube to get a sense for what you experience, but just your YouTube and not YouTube, your social media in general.
Well, the good news about Jones Getaways by Dream Vacations, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube and LinkedIn. So we are out there, and what we do on all of our social media is we try to introduce travel to people who don't normally travel, because we want them, and our moniker is, we want to help you experience the amazing of the world.
Yep. So Jones Getaways.
You saw our website.
Platforms.
Yep. Our website is www.jonesgetaways.com, and Jones Getaways by Dream Vacations on all social media, and you'll find us real easy.
All right. Well, before we let you go, you recall from the first time, we have a few light questions. Now they're different because this is your second time on the show. So this is more about your friends and fans and my listeners getting a sense for what you guys are like. So let me just say, welcome to the Jones Getaways by Dream Vacation fans and friends listening. We hope you have enjoyed what you have heard, and will come back and listen to other episodes. Nikki and Tommie, so that your friends and my listeners can get to know you better, let me ask a few questions I ask repeat guests. So the first one's an easy one. It's a softball. Tell our listeners and your friends, how do you spend your me time?
Well, for me, my me time is spent working out on Peloton, my strength training and cardio. And also, I like to peruse around Costco and Trader Joe's. That's how I like to spend my me time. Decompress.
Well, I'm not laughing at that because that fits for me
I know
too.
that's right, Paul. Thank you.
I can remember when the pandemic, when the shutdown was going on, and I used to get so excited when we were going to Costco. That was like
I
that was
know.
like going to the movies,
Yeah.
or going
A
to the
whole new
amusement
world.
park. That was all.
But Tommy
there
can't go
was.
with me because he tries to rush me, and I need to take my time. So
That's
is
not-
my me time.
There you go.
Oh, tell him your me time.
Hey,
Tell him your me
You know,
time.
hey, you're not supposed to wander in the store. You're supposed to go get what you want from the store.
Mm.
But anyway,
That's right. Okay.
I tried
Especially when you got samples.
I tried to cut you off so that you wouldn't say that, but Nikki squeezed my leg, so I had to shut up. But no, for me, it's I like watching movies. I like good movies, good TV. I like I work out, not as much as I used to, not as much as Nikki does, and sports. And then editing, because you inspired me to try this podcast lane. So that's my day right there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, movies will come back up in a
Okay.
minute. So, what are you guys listening to right now in terms of either music or podcasts or audiobook?
For me, I like listening to different podcasts. A lot of travel podcasts I listen to, including yours, Joe of Cruising. I do listen to Michelle Obama's podcast, In My Opinion, and Olivia Dean music is what I'm listening to right now.
Olivia Dean
And her husband's.
Yes.
music.
Yes. Mhm.
Wow, I'm
Yeah.
a big music guy, and I don't know Olivia Dean.
Oh, she's a younger artist that came out.
Check her out.
British English artist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
I like a
great
little.
song.
I like a little pop
Okay.
songs.
Okay.
Mhm.
And now for me, music. So I'm a R&B hip hop fan, but a lot of the new artists don't really fit my vibe. So what I do is I have a playlist on my Apple Music, and when I hear a song, I Shazam it,
Mhm.
put it on the list. So I'm listening to a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Guy
Really
named
well.
Black Six Lack. I'm really, really down with him, waiting for his new music to come out. And even though they say Drake lost the war, I'm a Drake fan as well.
Same
so I still
here.
listen to
Same
see.
here.
You know what I mean? But yeah, my playlist is called Stank Face. Now, I'll explain why it's Stank Face, because when you get in that groove and you're on the dance floor, your face start to make that face like something smell. So you start grinding, you know what I mean? So that's it, man. That's what I'm doing.
Kind of appropriate to the topic of this podcast. Right now, I listen to a lot of music
Mhm.
from morning to night.
Okay.
But the music I listen to most right at this moment is called Afro beats.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
for
ain't saying
sure.
nothing.
Yeah.
You ain't saying
We're
nothing.
doing that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of Afro.
They were surprised and impressed at how much of the Afro beats that we knew that they were playing and that are from Ghana. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another bonding thing that we
Conversations
had.
that we had. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Even they have Afrobeats gospel.
Yes, they
We were
do.
listening to
Yes,
that before
yes,
church this past
I've-
Sunday.
I've learned that.
Yeah.
I have learned that.
Yeah.
Recently learned that, but yes, I've learned
It's
that.
good too.
Mhm.
Okay. What is the last live performance you both experienced?
Easy. Beyonce.
Yeah.
Saw her
Beyonce.
twice.
Yeah.
Houston
Okay.
and Atlanta.
So my last live was Beyonce and Jay-Z in Cincinnati. And
many years ago.
And I thought it would be, Jay-Z being there, but I didn't really know Beyonce's audience. So them jokers,
Okay. Yep.
Beyonce.
Next question.
No, I'm just gonna say them jokers, meaning Beyonce and Jay-Z, they put on a heck of a concert. And Beyonce works harder than anybody I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. To this day.
So Tommy, you alluded to this earlier. How about television and movies? Anything to turn my listeners on to?
Yeah. So our day is work. We're separated in the same house. And then we come together for dinner and we go and we watch TV together and eat dinner. And we watch a lot of series. But the series I want to mention is The Pit. Now, if your stomach's a little, it's a medical show, but it seems so real. And we know medical nurses and doctors, we know them, and they have blessed off on it, on its on how the realism of it. But The Pit on HBO, that's a great show. The second season just started. We just finished all 5 seasons of Stranger Things.
Kept seeing it around, didn't know anything
Netflix,
about it. Said,
so our daughter came for Christmas and she was like, well, let's get it.
Yeah.
And so we just finished that we understand that. And then we just started this new show on Netflix called His and Hers. And it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. So, but that's what we're watching. As far as movies, we want to watch F1, but we haven't started because we're in too many TV series.
Yeah. We're up for recommendations.
Yeah. Wide open.
Well, last question. What's each of your favorite movies of all time?
For me is Imitation of Life.
Very
all
good.
time.
Well, I thought she was going to say Love Jones, but
No.
Imitation of Life. Okay. So I have 2, 7, and then Captain America: Civil War. Those are my 2 favorite.
Yep.
I can watch them over and over again.
Yep.
And I'm
Okay.
going to get you, sucker.
Now that's one I can watch over and over again. As silly as it is. Nikki,
Yeah.
Yep.
But even now,
Nikki
it's
and
funny.
Tommie, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for coming on the
Same.
Joy of Cruising podcast. And all the best
Thanks for
with
having
Jones Getaways by Dream Vacations.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
And
And
same
as
to
I
you.
like to say, and it was true just a month or so ago, we will see you on the ocean.
That's right.
And it happened.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us,
All right,
man.
y'all. Have a wonderful 26.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You
Same.
do the same. Tell your wife and daughter we said, hey.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.